All right, don't forget about the morning show replay every afternoon from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only on WMNH.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, don't forget to listen to the replay from 2 to 4.
Join me, Matt Connarton, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. live for a discussion about politics where we put aside labels like liberal and conservative and have a discussion about truth and what's really happening in the world.
The Shaskin Pub is happy to be a sponsor in WMNH. Our location is 909 Elm Street. The Shaskin Pub is open 7 days a week from 11:30 a.m. to 1 a.m. and offers the best food and drinks in downtown Manchester.
This hour on WMNH is proudly sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 171 Londonderry Turnpike in Hooksett. Serving all your employee benefits planning, design and administration, investment and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. They are available at 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
You are listening to WMNH-LP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. Contact us by email at WMNH953@gmail.com or through our website at WMNHradio.org.
Majestic Kenya, famous birthplace of not Barack Obama, with none other than the one and only First Lady of the United States, if you don't count Mike Pence, Melania Trump. Mrs. Trump, we don't often get to hear from you. In a few words, what can you tell us about Melania Trump?
I'm a mother and a First Lady.
Great.
I'm not happy in the White House. I don't even live there. I'm miserable in my marriage.
That's enough, sweetie.
I'm out of touch. There are so many things. I don't know where to start.
Well, why don't we start with the topic everyone is wondering about, the jacket. Do I look cute, or is it too tight? Because it's new and you didn't say anything.
Yes, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good. No, you always have the best taste in fashion, and I mean, you know how cruel people can be on the internet.
That's why my Be Best initiative is focusing on social media and online behavior. I could say I'm the most bullied person on the world.
The most bullied person in the world?
One of them. If you really see what people are saying about me.
Well, if I may, Mrs. Trump, allow me to impart some wisdom. A certain stunning Slovenian First Lady ripped off Michelle Obama, reworded, slapped on a t-shirt made in China, and tried to pass off as her own. Just be...
I never...
Shut up.
Best, just be better than the rest. Put your shiny new self-righteous phony slogan to the test. Don't hold back, don't fall short, don't stand up or show support for what's real or fair or true. You really don't care, girl, now do you? Stand your ground, lead with grace, and try not to make that face when they question what you said or how you dressed. Be kind and virtuous, and also tell your husband to be best, not the best, just be best. You hear that, boys and girls? Don't be crass, don't be cruel, unless on Twitter or in school. Keep your temper and remember our First Lady's golden rule. Contradict, solid proof, be indignant and aloof. Human dignity, dismiss it. Be despotic, be complicit. Don't unite, just divide. Then ignore the other side when they exercise their privilege to protest. Go on now, be outrageous. Throw small kids in cages. Be the best. You look stressed. If I were you, I'd be depressed. Just be best. Just be best.
We can. We should be best.
Good is not the best, and if you're better, you're still less than being best. So be the best as best you could. Don't be not as good as being better. Better might as well be not so good. Bet I'm not the first to say that better is the worst, when better's less not good and worser than not great. So, go on. Don't not be not more better. Lest you should regret it. Best be it, just forget it. Just be best, just be best. Just forget those you oppressed. Blame your spurs, use ethnic slurs, then just defer to Kanye West. Disregard, disobey, and if things don't go your way, side with any sex offender if it serves your own agenda. Brush your teeth, wash your clothes, and stick up for all your bros. Then go mocking all the ladies they molest. Pretend to give a and be a hypocrite, but be the best. Just be best, just be bop, just be bop. Just be best, till you're all under arrest. Just offend until the end while you pretend you're #1. Be a snob, be elite, be a liar and a cheat. We're enamored of your glamour, so we'll just forgive your grammar and be best. Just be best. Let your worst self be expressed. Thumb your nose until your foes have acquiesced. And don't be nice or lawful, just be best at being awful. Just be best, just be best, just be best, just be best, just be best. Girl,
Be best.
That's enough, sweetie.
I said, what kind of a man is this? I stand up here giving speeches for an hour and a half, many times without notice.
Auto sequence starts.
Says who?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's that time again. Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from a rainy, dreary, downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Although we do have those bright yellow crosswalks that really brighten things up. Anyway, yes, so here we are live on 95.3. Of course, we're also streaming at WMNHradio.org. You can watch us on Channel 97 Comcast if you're in the Manchester area. And, of course, from anywhere via Facebook on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. I see Jenny in there, as well as Kevin Hines. Welcome. And that is one of the ways that you can interact during the show. Of course, you can also tweet me anytime at Matt Connarton. But better still, give me a call. 603-250-6007 is the number. 603-250-6007. Would love to hear from you in the next 111 minutes or so. Of course, it is Monday, October 15th, 2018. And we are live. Call us, 603-250-6007. We have some breaking news. I need to get some breaking news music. There probably is something here in the system, and I just don't know about it. But this is breaking news. CNN is reporting that the Saudis are preparing to admit that Jamal Khashoggi was killed in what they're going to be calling an interrogation gone wrong. This is a pretty big development, actually. Trump was saying earlier that, he did talk with the king of Saudi Arabia, who reassured him very strongly that, that the Saudis had nothing to do with this. And then Trump said something about, it could have been some rogue killers or something. Very often, we saw this with Putin, right? He said, well, Putin denied very strongly that he had anything to do with the Russian hacking, so I believe him. And I guess it's kind of the same thing now. Oh, the Saudis say they had nothing to do with the disappearance, murder, and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. I believe him. Why wouldn't you?
Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there.
Exactly, yes. History repeats. Anyway, this is breaking news from CNN. Let's listen.
getting breaking news on this story. According to two sources, the Saudis are preparing a report that will acknowledge Jamal Khashoggi's death was the result of an interrogation that went wrong. Let's go straight to our senior international correspondent, Arwa Damon, who's there in Istanbul. Arwa, tell me exactly what the Saudis are preparing to admit.
Well, very scant details at this stage, Brooke, and one of those two sources is cautioning that this report is still being prepared, that things could end up changing. According to the other source, this report is most likely going to conclude that the operation was carried out without clearance and transparency, and that those involved will be held responsible. Of course, the backdrop of all of this is coming just as Turkish investigators, the forensics team, was allowed inside the Saudi consulate. They are still indoors. Their vans are still parked outside. Those involved, who are they? Well, throughout our reporting of all of this, the Turks have always been saying that there are 15 Saudi nationals who are persons of interest who arrived in country the same day that Jamal Khashoggi did go missing. If the Saudis do in fact come out with this statement, this could be their way of distancing themselves from what happened. And then, of course, what we don't know is what sort of burden of responsibility, whether or not individuals within the consulate itself will also be among those that Saudi Arabia decides to end up holding responsible. There had been, prior to the announcement of this, some speculation, and we heard President Trump speculating about this as well, that perhaps there would be this narrative of rogue elements who did carry out this killing without the authority necessarily of the uppermost echelons of the Saudi government. But this has been a story that has had so many different twists and turns. One really needs to actually wait and see what it is, what kind of statement it is that the Saudis do end up coming out with, Brooke.
But if they are prepared to say what we're reporting, that they'll acknowledge his death was the result of the...
Okay, so skeptical? Now, that does raise what I think is a very interesting question, as as she pointed out during that reporting. Sorry about that. Did they take their cue? Did the Saudis take their cue from Trump and his comments earlier? You know, if we can, let's kind of go halfway with it. In other words, from the point of view of the Saudis, we'll acknowledge that this happened in the consulate. I guess they're prepared to acknowledge that, but because if you say, well, no, it was these other people who were out of our control, and they
could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there,
and these other people, without our authorization, without our oversight, whatever, they carried this out. Well, it would have had to have taken place within the consulate, right? Because, again, so you've got the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. How do you explain? Because the part of this that nobody believes, I mean, you'd have to be incredibly naive to believe this, is the explanation that the Saudis have offered for why there is no video. There's video of Khashoggi going into the consulate, but there's no video of him leaving. And there are text messages that he received while he was, or would have received while he was in the consulate, that have gone on unread. So he was murdered in the consulate, because no one could possibly believe the explanation that, well, we don't keep any recordings. We don't keep any tape of people coming and going. Those are live cameras only, right? Nobody believes that, especially cameras running outside of an embassy, a consulate, in a very violent area. No one believes that these cameras are monitored by someone live, like someone sitting in the security office at Walmart, looking for shoplifters. Oh yeah, there's just somebody sitting there kind of keeping an eye on things, but nothing's being recorded. Come on, BS. It's just as important that there be a recording, a video record of who enters and exits a place like that, a building like that, as there is someone watching live in case there's any trouble. So no one believes it, that, the reason there's no video of him leaving is because there's no video of anything. It's strictly live. No one buys that. I mean, right out of the gate, everyone called BS on that. Now, Trump has done something. Actually, before we go down that road, let's listen. This is audio of Trump talking earlier to the media about this. Now, again, this is history repeating itself, right? Because when Trump was standing next to Putin at that press conference talking about the Russian hacking, he said, well, I was told very, very strongly by my BFF, Vladimir Putin, that the Russians had nothing to do with it. And he was very strong in his denial. So I can't help but believe him because he was very strong, very firm in his denial. So, you know, I mean, he's not going to look me right in the eyes and lie to me, is he? Okay. But keep that in mind as I play this clip for you. Keep that in mind. Because you're going to hear some familiar phrases.
Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there.
And it's just, and then after this, we'll get into some of Trump's other comments that he's made leading up to this.
Number one, as you know, with Pastor Brunson, some of you were there, and he had a fantastic weekend. He's back home, and we love the fact that he's back home. He's with his family, and he's a very happy man. He left Turkey. He is extremely thrilled, and as I said, really yesterday more than ever, that we want to thank Turkey. We want to thank President Erdogan. I just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia, who denies any knowledge of what took place with regard to, as he said, his Saudi Arabian citizen. I've asked, and he firmly denied that, I've asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to immediately get on a plane, go to Saudi Arabia, go to other places if necessary, which he probably will, but with regard to this, go to Turkey if necessary. The king told me that Turkey and Saudi Arabia are working hand in hand very closely on getting to the bottom of what happened. So we'll see what happens. But Mike Pompeo is...
That should also sound familiar, by the way. You know, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, they're working together to try to figure this out. Remember Trump during the press conference with Putin when he was like, you know, my BFF over here, he made this very generous offer to try to help us investigate who did the hacking and this and that. This is the same kind of thing.
Is leaving literally within an hour or so.
Literally.
He's heading to Saudi Arabia. We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know.
Wait a minute.
I don't want to get into...
You're going to leave nothing uncovered? I thought it wasn't the idea to uncover everything. You're going to leave nothing uncovered? I know what he meant. I'm just a stickler for... I kind of believe words mean something. But see, this way he can say later, oh, I meant to say we'll leave nothing covered, not we'll leave nothing uncovered, because words don't actually mean anything. Just like when I said I didn't see any reason why it would be Russia. What I meant was I didn't see any reason why it wouldn't be Russia. I would have thought that would be obvious to all of you, but you know how the liberal media likes to spin everything I say by repeating my exact words, by playing audio and video of actual things that I actually said. But, oh, by the way, we're going to get to some of that later, too, with a completely different situation.
To his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows? We're going to try getting to the bottom of it very soon, but his was a flat denial. What? All I can do is report what he told me, and he told me in a very firm way that they had no knowledge of it. He said it very strongly.
That's the same thing he said. That Putin, he said it very strongly. Who am I to question someone who says something very strongly? By the way, I'm reminded of, I know I keep interrupting the clip. There's a little bit more to this, but I'm reminded of something Trump said that I thought was very interesting. Oh, by the way, hello to Fred Bonig from the dailyripple.org who joins us in the Facebook live chat. During the primary debates, somebody asked the question, you know, what's a weakness that you might have or whatnot? And Trump's answer was he can be too trusting of people. He actually said this. He said, sometimes I can be too trusting of people, and someone will tell me something and I believe it. And then I find out later that, you know, they had some sort of nefarious purpose behind their actions. So maybe he really does believe the king of Saudi Arabia, that, you know, they had nothing to do with this. Maybe he really does believe Vladimir Putin, that the Russians had nothing to do with any kind of hacking or election interference. Maybe he's just very naive. He's just a sweet, sweet man who's just very naive and is far too easily led down the primrose path. Perhaps that's all it is.
Well, that was not part of the deal. We had no deal with Turkey. We don't make any deals for hostages or prisoners. But I will tell you that I feel much differently about Turkey today than I felt about them 2 days ago. I have a very good feeling toward Turkey. 2 days ago, I did not. So that helps.
I'm waiting for him to say, you know, I fell in love with Turkey.
I don't know. We're going to try getting to the bottom of it. I can only tell you that his denial to me is just one very, you know, relatively fast phone call, probably lasted 20 minutes. His denial to me could not have been stronger, that he had no knowledge. And it sounded like he and also the Crown Prince had no knowledge.
Mr. President, do you have
We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. I did say this is very important. The world is watching. The world is talking.
Well, that's true.
And this is very important to get to the bottom of it. And I think he understands that very well. He did say very strongly that he's dealing with Turkey, that they've come to an agreement, that they're investigating it together, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Now, here's the thing. So, Fred says maybe he's lying. I'm thinking that is the more reasonable explanation. I mean, they do cut people's heads off there. Well, Fred, I would just say this to you. Now, let me just take Trump's side here for a moment, because he is such a sweet and naive man. Why would you ever question that a murderous dictator would be lying? I mean, you know, Vladimir Putin, yeah, he assassinates people. He assassinates, actually, come to think of it, he assassinates journalists who disagree with him. But come on, I mean, that doesn't mean he'd lie. You know, when discussing something like Russian hacking, for example, with Trump, he wouldn't lie about that, would he? Or Kim Jong-un, who also murders lots of people. Very, very murderous. But, you know, that doesn't mean we can't trust him. That doesn't mean our president can't fall in love with Kim Jong-un and say very glowing and complimentary things about him. Fred, I mean, don't be such a Debbie Downer. I'm sure. Now, yes, I realize in Saudi Arabia, they cut people's heads off. It is a murderous regime. They have lots of blood on their hands. Oh, by the way, they are state sponsors of terror, and most of the hijackers on 9/11 were Saudis recruited from the Wahhabi tribe and whatnot. But come on, I mean, would you really think they'd lie about this? Come on, I mean, Fred. Sometimes you got to trust somebody. I mean, you can't just go through life being so cynical. There you go. By the way, that's one of the ways, for anyone who's confused, if you're new to the show, one of the tells, in case you're unclear on this, when I'm being sarcastic, is when I start to talk like this. That's me being sarcastic. Fred says, Kavanaugh, they would never lie. Of course, Justice Kavanaugh, he would never tell a lie. I'm sure that back in his day, Devil's Triangle really was a drinking game. Just because he, liked to drink a lot of beer, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. So, anyway. But here's the other thing that I wanted to get to about this, is that...
How about a beer?
The other day, or was it yesterday, or it all blurs. I mean, that's the thing about the Trump era, right? Everything blurs together. Peter White and I were talking about that before the show. Pete and I had a chat. He was in here, and we were talking about how what it's like doing a show like this in the era of Trump. Donald John Trump, our 45th and possibly final president. But here's the thing. So the other day, actually, I think he's said it more than once. Trump was talking about, well, you know, we could get mad at Saudi Arabia for killing, you know, and he's in the Oval Office talking with reporters. He goes, this Khashoggi guy, now, he's not an American citizen, right? Oh, he's a resident of the U.S. Okay. So, yeah, we could get mad at the Saudis about this, but, you know, the Saudis give us a lot of money for the weapons that we sell them. Yes, Saudi Arabia, by the way, state sponsors of terror, but we have a very positive relationship with them. We sell them weapons. And you know, we are somewhat dependent, although I'm not sure. I know it's an evolving story in terms of how dependent we are on foreign oil, but, you know, historically, I mean, you know, we don't want to upset the Saudis because we want oil prices to remain lower so that people don't have to pay more for gasoline in the United States and so forth. So here's the thing. Oh, Fred says, bet tomorrow the reason kids don't have their homework will be rogue agents stole it. Well, that very well could be, Fred. I mean, that's, I wish I'd thought of that when I was a kid, you know. I mean, that's a lot better than my dog ate my homework. It was stolen by rogue agents. That's much better. I mean, I'm sure Trump may have used that a time or two at the Wharton School of Business. Here's the thing. So Trump comes out and says, we don't want to upset the Saudis. We don't want to do anything to damage our relationship with the Saudis because they buy all these weapons from us. Now, he throws out these numbers that apparently are tremendously exaggerated, but we do sell them a lot of weapons. So we have a financial and a business relationship with them. Now, historically, there has always been this balance, this tension between human rights and economic interests, you know. So we've always done business with countries to some extent or another that don't necessarily have the best human rights records, but we're intertwined with them somehow economically. So Trump isn't wrong when he says we have an economic interest in having a good relationship with Saudi Arabia. He's right about that. Here's the problem, though. When he says that, and he tells that to the world, people take that as, okay, so you're admitting in front of the world that the United States only cares about money and is willing to put money over human rights. Now, that is literally historically true. We do put money over human rights. We put money over everything. I mean, war is largely about money. It's to feed the military-industrial complex. A lot of people profit from war. It has very little to do with defending the country. Here domestically, you know, I always talk about the war on drugs, how it's really the government's war against the American people. But why would they fight that? Why does the government fight a war against the American people? Because there's an economic interest involved. A lot of people make money off of the war on drugs, right? So we really put money over everything. Money trumps everything. No pun intended, I promise. But here's the thing. You're not supposed to say that out loud to everybody. You're not, for a couple of what I would think would be obvious reasons, you are not supposed to sit there at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office and say to the entire world, well, yeah, it sucks what happened to this guy and that's wrong and we don't like it, but hey, you know, there's a lot of money on the table here, so we might have to just overlook this. You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to telegraph that to the world for a couple of reasons. For one thing, you don't want to necessarily say to the world, hey, this whole sort of moral authority that we try to project, and, we try to act like we're the good guys on the planet and all those who oppose us are the bad guys, but we're the good guys. We wear the white hats. We're John Wayne, okay? That moral authority that we try to project, just so you know, it's all fake, and we don't really mean it, and we'll always put money over people, right? That's the number one problem with Trump sitting there and saying what he said, and then repeating it in other places. Well, it's forget about moral authority. It's all about the money. You don't, as much as our moral authority may seem completely fake, you don't want to say that to everybody. You don't want to remind everybody, or you don't want to say to people who are skeptical about the moral authority of the United States, hey, I know you're skeptical about our moral authority, just so you know you have a right to be, because it's all phony and we don't really believe in it. Right? That's the number one problem there. The number two problem, as I see it, is you also don't want to be saying, Fred says, so loyalty is for sale. Well, obviously, of course. Now, the other thing you don't want to be saying, in my estimation, to the world is, as long as you have some sort of business relationship with the United States, as long as you have something that is in our economic interests that you could use against us, for example, in this case. Again, Trump keeps saying, well, the Saudis, they have other options. They could buy their weapons from Russia. They could buy their weapons from wherever, China. But we want them to continue to buy their weapons from us, so let's not rock the boat, right? Even though, gee, bummer what happened to this guy, who, by the way, is not even a U.S. citizen. He was a U.S. resident, so we really care, right? That's what, Trump didn't literally say that, but that's what he projects. Okay. But do you really want to project also to the rest of the world that as long as we have an economic interest in your continuing to do business with us, you can do whatever you want with impunity? And because we've already completely abdicated our moral authority, now, by the way, since we've abdicated that, you can do whatever you want. And if anyone's mad about it, just deny that you did what you did. Just deny it. Make it a strong denial, though. Make it a very strong denial so that I, Donald Trump, can tell the world, oh, I talked to this guy on the phone, and he made a very strong denial. And, murderous regimes, as with Russia, as with North Korea, they tend to be very honest. So I have no reason to question him. Very strong denial. Is that really, because to me, what he is told, I know he's, people think he's this, well, people who support him think he's this great businessman and he's so shrewd and he's so smart. He's just told the world you can roll him really easily. Do what you want, deny it to his face or on the phone, and it's all good. It's all good. We'll just, okay. Yeah, you say you didn't do it. Let's keep making money together. And again, on some level, that's always been the policy of the United States. On some level, okay? But you're not supposed to say it out loud. It's like that expression, things you don't say in polite company. You're not supposed to say it out loud, and you're not supposed to tell everybody. Look, there's a concept, and I learned this term back when George W. Bush first became president, and somebody asked him, what will you do if China were to move on Taiwan? And Bush came right out and said, we would defend Taiwan, which you're not supposed to say, because there's this concept called strategic ambiguity. And what strategic ambiguity is you don't publicly state or project how you will react in any given situation because you want to keep your enemies, or perhaps in some instances your allies or those who you have some sort of relationship with. They're not necessarily allies or enemies, but you want to keep everyone a little bit uncertain. In other words, to use that example, because this is why people were very upset with Bush, because he didn't know this strategic ambiguity concept, at least in that particular instance. You don't want to say to China, if you move on Taiwan, we will retaliate militarily. You don't want to tell them that. You want to keep them guessing, because that keeps them off balance. That keeps them uncertain, and that gives you a strategic advantage. They don't know exactly what you'll do. But, I mean, Trump has completely given that away to the world. Because Trump has said to the world, no, there's no strategic ambiguity here. If we have an economic interest in what you're doing, you can do whatever you want and deny it, and we're good. We're cool. Don't worry about it. And that is scary. That is scary to me. And I don't find anything shrewd about that. I don't find he doesn't look like a smart businessman to me when he does that. You know, you want to keep your enemies guessing a little bit. He has completely eviscerated any of that. No, he just he's told the world, you can roll me, just deny it, deny that you did anything, and life goes on. And as Fred said in the Facebook live chat, so loyalty is for sale. Of course it is. So that's where we are. Isn't that nice? We'll move on to some other things. By the way, 603-250-6007 is the number to call. 603-250-6007 if you have any thoughts on this or anything else. Because as always, there is a myriad of things going on in the world. But we've got this other kind of silly story that, Reuters is reporting it too now. By the way, Saudi Arabia preparing to admit that Khashoggi was killed in an interrogation gone wrong. Also, Turkish police have audio showing Khashoggi was killed in consulate, according to sources. Wow. All right, well, let's move on from that, because we also have this Elizabeth Warren thing. So, Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts, probably is running for president. She, after many denials in the past that she was interested in running, she seems to be gearing up for a run. And she apparently did have a DNA test. And Trump, at one point during the campaign, had said, I'll donate $1 million to a charity of her choice if she does a DNA test to prove that she is, in fact, of Native American descent. It's all very, it's like the movie Idiocracy. Someone had made that comment online. If you've seen the movie Idiocracy, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, I mean, the person I saw making the comment was referring to the Kanye West summit in the White House, where Kanye rambled for 20 minutes about other dimensions and all kinds of stuff. It really is. It is very much like the movie Idiocracy. But now, so it says here, this is from Mediaite. As a debate rages over Senator Elizabeth Warren's big announcement on her Native American heritage, one MSNBC host couldn't help but poke fun at the findings of her DNA test. Now, what is surprising to me about this is that this happened on MSNBC, because MSNBC is the liberal network, right? They're the liberal counterbalance to Fox's conservatism. However, there is also this dynamic within that dynamic of MSNBC has been doing things to push back against some of the more leftward factions within the Democratic Party. In other words, they don't like Ocasio-Cortez very much. Actually, I think it's CNN that really seems to have it out for her, but they don't like her because MSNBC, they're liberal, but they're establishment liberals. You know, Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks talks about that in a great video that you can find on YouTube where he explains why he left MSNBC. Because they told him, look, you know, you're on the liberal network and you're a liberal and that's great, but we need you to be more of an establishment liberal, more of the corporate Democrat type and not be quite such a left-winger and not do stories that criticize Democrats, only criticize Republicans, because we're here at MSNBC, we're the liberal network, but we're insiders and you're behaving like an outsider. And then Cenk was basically like, all right, well, screw it. I'll just go back to running the Young Turks full time. I mean, the Young Turks is wildly successful anyway. He doesn't need MSNBC. So Elizabeth Warren kind of, I think, really taps in to and appeals to many of the same people to whom Ocasio-Cortez in New York appeals to. And so I think MSNBC, maybe that's why they've taken to criticizing her. And apparently, I didn't have a chance to pre-watch this, but apparently they mock her in this clip. And again, this is the liberal network doing this, but I wonder if part of this comes from the top where they're already trying to strategize in advance that, look, you know, we got to get behind these corporate Democrats. We got to get behind Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey. We got to get behind Senator Kamala Harris from California. You know, that's who we need to get behind. Not Bernie Sanders, not Elizabeth Warren, not, you know, any of these other super lefties who are going to upset the corporate apple cart. So anyway, like I said, I'll be hearing this for the first time as well. But apparently they were mocking Elizabeth Warren today on MSNBC.
About Elizabeth Warren, talking about politicians who gain something. Did she gain anything by putting out the DNA test results? Best I can gather, according to your paper's reporting, she's 1,000th or something like. I think I might be just as Native American as she is.
So the report that was released, that she released yesterday to the Boston Globe, said that she has a Native American ancestor who was somewhere between 10 and 6 generations back in her family. So that's going pretty far back. So, you know, it's a lot. I don't know who my great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather is. But at the same time, it provides the first actual documentary proof of this thing that she has been saying, which is that she had Native American, you know, stories of Native American lore in her family. And up until now, you know, looking at birth certificates, looking at marriage certificates, looking at Indian rolls, you've just seen nothing. And so this is the very first time there is some evidence that, look, hey, somebody in the family probably was Native American, in fact, indeed was, way, way back. So you see where perhaps the stories came from.
All right. We'll have to leave it there. Annie, thank you. Annie Linsky there with the Boston Globe. Again, President Trump on the ground getting set.
So the story doesn't have quite as much the mocking tone as I expected based on the article that it appeared in, that bit of audio. But, you know, Craig Melvin does say, oh, you know, she might be about as Native American as I am. So, again, it's just a little bit surprising. I mean, of course, I'm sure on Fox and Friends they were much harsher about that. But now, so here's the other interesting wrinkle here, though. Now that she's done this, does Trump owe $1 million to charity? Because he did publicly say that if she did this, he would donate $1 million to charity. Well, we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Oh, hello, Matt.
Well, hello, Eric. How are you, sir?
Hey, you can take it with a grain of salt, but a friend of mine says if Elizabeth Warren somehow gets the Democratic nominee. He said Donald Trump's your president again.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, who knows? I mean,
he thinks that she has no shot at becoming the next president.
yeah, I don't know. I think she may ultimately be she may prove to be a polarizing figure if she is the nominee. So I don't know. Who knows? Too early to tell.
I hear that Michelle Obama is a favorite among Democrats.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, but she apparently has no interest in running, so I wouldn't count on Michelle Obama getting in.
Yeah, Michael Bloomberg was rubbing elbows with Tim Baines the other day at his restaurant.
Oh, really? Well, now Michael Bloomberg, I think, may be getting in
But he
because
says he has no interest in running now. But it's kind of funny that he's in New Hampshire all of a sudden.
right, yeah, you don't hang out in New Hampshire or Iowa for no reason, so it would
He was in
not
Nashville
shock
the other
me.
day. So.
Oh, well, perhaps he is running. We'll see. I mean, he did recently.
He's another billionaire like Trump.
He's a legit billionaire. He did recently switch from independent to Democrat, so of course he has switched many times.
Well, Elizabeth Warren, she obviously when anybody that runs for Congress, they gotta have a lot of money. So you gotta have money to run for president.
That's
You
right.
can't be poor.
That's
Remember what Stone Cold said, though? You talk about trusting people. Remember what he said? Don't trust anybody.
That's right. And he once gave Donald Trump a stone cold stunner right in the ring.
He did.
Yes.
You don't see him coming back anytime soon. I hope he doesn't. I mean, he's come back to run his mouth and done some promos and stuff, but you don't see him wrestling anytime soon.
He can't come back and wrestle because of his neck. He'd be risking paralysis.
He hurt his neck pretty bad.
But he can come back and chug some beers.
How about a beer?
That's why I'm surprised that Shawn Michaels is coming back again, because he's had a lot of trouble with his back too.
Yeah. Well, he wants that money, that Saudi money. You know, there's.
Well, that's what somebody said. He's getting like $1 million just to appear at the Saudi Arabia
at Crown Jewel
thing there.
If it even happens now.
Crown Jewel, yeah.
If it even happens,
Yeah,
there's a lot of speculation.
They said that they admitted they killed that guy because I was scanning over an article today at the library, and when they were saying that I don't know if it was online or something, I forget, and they were saying that it was Wall Street Journal scanning the front page, and they were saying that they were worried that Trump does some kind of retaliation, and the price of oil is going to go to $100 or $200 a barrel, and that would increase the gas prices.
Well, Trump's
everybody would be nervous.
Trump's made it very clear he's human rights are I don't think his number one priority. Jenny is here, by the way. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, hello.
And Christian Cunard is in the Facebook
Lord.
live chat and says hello.
Ooh, hi. I was playing hooky
Hi,
in the
Jenny.
Republic.
But we shall see.
But I like what you said earlier, though. We're the good guys, though. We wear the white hat.
Well, in theory. But
From our perspective. I'm sure there's
Have a
people
good
who
rest of
don't
your
agree
show.
with us, but
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Eric. All right, Eric Gagnon leaves us. He did dedicate the morning show to Alderman Tim Baines. Or I'm a little unclear on that, if it was the morning show or just a segment.
It was the entertainment report. I was paying attention to
Oh,
what they were
yes.
saying.
Yes.
And he clarified it, that it was the entertainment report.
Right.
I was paying attention.
Whoops, I'm sorry. I've got
right.
I've got the
Yeah, right.
I've got the audio here of I believe this is where Trump said that if Elizabeth Warren did the DNA test, he would give $1 million to a charity of her choice. Let's listen to this. The evidence speaks for itself.
To cover Bernie? Hey, they're going to cover like Sleepy Joe Biden? They're going to cover Pocahontas, who was. Think of it.
1/10.
Think of it. She of the great
One relative.
tribal heritage. What tribe is it? Let me think about that one.
10 generations ago.
Meantime, she's based her life on being a minority. Pocahontas. They always want me to apologize for saying it. And I hereby, oh no, I want to apologize. I'll use tonight. Pocahontas, I apologize to you. I apologize. To you, I apologize. To the fake Pocahontas, I won't apologize. No, No, it's causing her problems. You know, that name's good because now even the liberals are saying, take a test. Take a test. You know, I tell you, I shouldn't tell you because I like not to give away secrets. But this one, let's say I'm debating Pocahontas, right? I promise you I'll do this. I will take, you know those little kits they sell on television for $2? Learn your heritage. Guy says, I was born in Scotland. It turns out he was born in Puerto Rico, and that's okay. It's good. You know. Guy says, I was born in Germany. Well, he wasn't born in Germany. He was born someplace else. I'm going to get one of those little kits. And in the middle of the debate, when she proclaims that she's of Indian heritage, because her mother said she has high cheekbones. That's her only evidence, that her mother said she had high cheekbones. We will take that little kit and say, but we have to do it gently. Because we're in the Me Too generation, so we have to be very gentle. And we will very gently take that kit and we will slowly toss it, hoping it doesn't hit her and injure her arm, even though it only weighs probably 2 ounces. And we will say, I will give you $1 million to your favorite charity, paid for by Trump, if you take the test and it shows you're an Indian, you know. And let's see what she does. Right?
He said, and we will say.
I have a feeling she will say no. But we'll hold that for the debates. Do me a favor. Keep it within this room.
It's a hypothetical.
Because I don't want to give away any secrets. And the press is very honorable. They won't.
Come
Please
on,
don't tell
that's
her
a
what I just said.
hypothetical.
Yeah, the problem with it is because some people are claiming, oh no, Trump has to do this now. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Because you're right. He was talking about, you know, if they're in a debate and you're right.
That he
it's a
would bring it up
hypothetical.
that he would bring it up in a debate, and if she would agree to do it in the debate, then we would pay for, you know. No, that's totally hypothetical. It's totally crap reporting by typical press that just wants to get more hits. So if they find a way to get more hits, that's how they do it.
Well, I don't think it's the press saying that. It's it's the press reporting that there's people who are allied with Elizabeth Warren who are saying that.
I read reports. I have to disagree with you. I read reports earlier that seemed to indicate that the press was calling out the president to say, hey, now you have to pay for this. Because she has 10 generations ago, apparently, a individual who was Native American.
I saw a couple of opinion pieces that said that, certainly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but that was total hyperbole. There was nothing real about what Trump just said.
No, I agree. It says here, Elizabeth Warren has been derided by Trump. Okay, we already know about that. Today, so here's what she's saying. Today, she fought back on that by releasing a short campaign-style film that documents her familial and ancestry heritage and shows results of a DNA test that confirms she has Native American ancestry. In a campaign rally last summer, Trump notably ridiculed Warren's claim and suggested that if she were to prove her Native American ancestry with a DNA test, he would donate $1 million to her favorite charity. The political rally was held in Montana in early July, and the commander-in-chief foretold a potential political debate between him and former... okay, so we heard all that. So I'm skipping down. So now that she's taken the test and has had confirmation of her indigenous heritage, will Donald Trump make good on his offer? A reasonable person would think so, but we are not living in reasonable times. No, I would not. A reasonable person would not think so. I disagree, because it was a hypothetical. Trump could claim that the offer to donate $1 million to charity was technically an offer to offer in the future. I would agree. He'd be right about that. That Trump was basically fantasizing about how a future debate might go and that the offer was part of a tall tale he was spinning to supporters who love the Trump campaign shtick. Yeah, clearly that's what it was. So there you go. I mean, I personally don't care about any of it. When I say that, I mean, I don't care if Elizabeth Warren, I don't care about her heritage. It's not something I consciously think about. But I mean, if you're a longtime listener, you know my attitudes about race and ethnicity and people are people, whatever. I don't care. But of course, there's a little bit of a sideshow, as there will always tend to be around something like this. Let's do one more quick thing before we hit the top of the hour. That really isn't. I mean, this is kind of out of left field, and I don't mean liberally speaking. I just mean it's not something you probably expected me to talk about, but just a quick thing that I think is interesting. This is from Reason.com, which is a libertarian-esque website. So things that come out of Reason do come from a libertarian perspective, but I do find a lot of really good content on there, and I thought this was interesting. According to the Hit and Run blog, Scott Shackford writes this: libertarian and police accountability pages have been deleted in a Facebook purge. It says hundreds of pages and accounts have been purged over accusations that they were inauthentic. The page operators disagree. So it says here, quote, "I contributed to Facebook's success and growth," unquote. Jason Bassler said with some frustration this morning, a day after the social media giant unpublished the page for a media site he found called the Free Thought Project. Quote, "I decided to create content day after day. Now they pee on us," unquote. He didn't say pee, but Facebook announced Thursday that it was deleting 559 pages and 251 accounts that it claims were breaking Facebook's rules against spam and inauthentic behavior. The Free Thought Project was one of the demolished pages, along with another of Basler's efforts, Police the Police. Both pages have produced content, stories, memes, and videos that focused on government behavior and were shared widely among fans, particularly libertarians. Nathaniel Gleicher, Facebook's head of cybersecurity policy, and Oscar Rodriguez of Facebook, by writing that they don't think these sites were really trying to engage in political debate, but were in fact spam factories trying to make money. In their statement, they said many were using fake accounts or multiple accounts with the same names and posted massive amounts of content across a network of groups and pages to drive traffic to their websites. Many used the same techniques to make their content appear more popular on Facebook than it really was. Others were ad farms using Facebook to mislead people into thinking they were forums for legitimate political debate. Bassler says that's not what was happening. He has editing privileges on a bunch of pages that were affected by the ban, and he shared a picture on Facebook of what it looked like to see all these pages depublished. Bassler explains, though, that this was the result of networking between pages of similar interests, not a handful of people trying to artificially inflate their own popularity. He has made 5 pages himself, and he was assisting with these others. By the way, it's not unusual to be an admin or an editor or something on many different pages. Like maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I currently am an admin or an editor on many pages, most of which I don't pay any attention to, but some are old pages that I was made an admin on at one time, but they're inactive, have been inactive for years. That I don't even pay any attention to. I didn't start the pages, so I don't delete the pages. I don't think it's my place to do that. If it's not a page I started, if it's just sitting there dormant, it sits there dormant. But it's not unusual to be connected on Facebook in some way to many different pages like this. Says here, Bassler isn't the only one confused. Over at the Washington Post, James Reeder, who runs a progressive site and page called Reverb Reader, complains about Facebook changing the rules as they went. That's true. I mean, Facebook does rather capriciously do that. Maybe I shouldn't be saying anything even remotely critical of Facebook while I'm on Facebook Live. Hopefully they're not listening. Next thing you know, they'll have a new rule that you can't have a show called Matt Connarton Unleashed on Facebook, and they'll delete my page. Let's see. So anyway, this article's a bit long. If you want to read the whole thing, it is up at reason.com. But we're getting to the top of the hour, so I think we will take a quick break. I haven't played this in a while. This is a nice song for those of you who are concerned about such matters. This is this is the comedy duo of Garfunkel and Oates, and this is called Save the Rich. And we'll be back with more Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3.
Everyone knows these times are really tough, and we need to band together and say we've had enough. All the jobless people need to learn to be content, 'cause what we need to do is protect our 1%. Save the rich, let them know you care. Don't leave them to languish in their penthouse of despair. Save the rich, let their bonuses be swollen, and let them keep it all tax-free, even if it's stolen. Save the rich. Let's give our job creators more than their fair share, so they can go to Asia and create jobs over there. There's loopholes and exemptions and children to exploit, so give them special tax breaks. Go f*** yourself, Detroit. And those who don't create jobs really need help too, 'cause without their seventh home, how will they make it through? It's not time for complaining, not the time for class war. It's time to sacrifice yourself to give them more and more and more and more and more and more. Save the rich. America's built on corporate greed. It's not Wall Street's fault if you can't get what you need. Save the rich. Don't go crying to mommy, 'cause if you don't agree, then you're a socialist commie. Save the rich. Blame yourself for your problems, not the bad economy. So what if those who have the most are the ones who put it in jeopardy? Your student loans, kids and their health care. It'll only take 10,000 of your jobs to put another private jet in the air. Save the rich. It's so easy to do. Just let yourself be ignorant to what's been done to you. Save the rich by doing nothing at all. Deny all sense and logic and just think really small. You should think really small, or just don't think at all. And save the rich.
Spray tan, orange skin, and I just wonder when it's gonna end. Big long red tie, he makes me wanna just die. They got their facts wrong again and again, 'cause everybody thought he was a self-made man. Gold-rimmed toilet king doesn't understand a single thing. Got his money from his dad. No one knew, and that sure makes me sad. They didn't care that his dad's in the clan, and everybody thought he was a self-made man.
Climate change could be threatening the most popular alcoholic drink in the world. An article published by the journal Nature Plants suggests climate change could lead to the decrease in beer's key ingredient, barley. Researchers created models that predicted what the barley crop would look like under climate change from 2010 to 2099. The study found extreme drought and heat waves could lead to barley crop losses of anywhere from 3 to 17%, meaning the price for your favorite cold one would on average double. The researchers say they understand barley isn't the most essential crop in the world and beer isn't a necessity for daily life, but point out the change will have an impact on how people socialize and their quality of life.
I drank beer with my friends. Sometimes I had too many beers. I liked beer.
I still like beer. Had beers, have some beers. One beer, drink beer, drinks beer, drank beer, and drinking beer. You've probably had beers, Senator.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor.
You know, I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer. I like
You
beer.
haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one.
Hanging out and having some beers with friends, which I gladly do, and which I fully embrace.
How about a beer?
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's hour number 2, Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, streaming at WMNHradio.org. Of course, you can find WMNH on the TuneIn app, by the way, so you can take us wherever you go on your mobile device. We're on channel 97 Comcast in Manchester. And of course, we're on Facebook via Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. Jenny is here as well.
I'm trying to be.
Yes. And you were like Glenn R.J. Willett there with the phone, except you actually left the room.
Well, I thought that would be the polite thing to do. I mean, I didn't think it would be a good idea to sit here on the mic.
Glenn, yeah.
Call me crazy.
Glenn doesn't always leave the room because he's a big star.
Oh, I know.
We're going to start. He is in the building, so maybe he'll come down and join us.
Yeah, and he's going to be like mayor of Africa. Oh,
I think so, yes. It's very exciting. He's, you know, and with his adoptive children and whatnot.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Willett, and I live at 112 Auburn Street. And I haven't been here for a while. Been pretty busy. You know, education is very important. And now that I have,
so it
two teenage sons of my own that I'm settling in, going to school in 2 different countries, it's a lot of work being a parent, but I'm enjoying it.
He is enjoying fatherhood, so good for him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Quite...
And he apparently is very, very popular, no matter where he goes.
Well, he's the people's mayor.
I know.
Doing the people's business. Let's see here. Oh, there was something. You know what? Let's. There was these clips people are talking about on. Trump was on 60 Minutes for an interview with Leslie Stahl, and got a couple of highlights here. Apparently, he got a little bit upset and snappy with our dear Leslie Stahl.
What?
You know what
it
is?
Was that?
I amalgamized Stall with snappy, and I came out with Snall. He got a little snall. No, he got a little snappy with Stall over his, you know, Trump is in love with, I don't know how Melania feels about it, but
love?
he is in love with Kim Jong-un. He has
I think in
spoken
love's
of their
a
love.
bit- I think that's a bit much.
He said they're in love.
I think
it's
that's
nice.
a bit much. I think you're pushing it a little too far
I'm
there.
not pushing it. No, Trump literally said that. You don't remember that? Did you miss that a couple weeks ago when Trump said he and Kim Jong-un fell in love? When he was gushing about these beautiful letters that, like, I'm not kidding. Like, this is real. Like, he said that at a campaign rally.
Not the way you're saying it.
And-
You're making it sound like a love affair.
I think it's beautiful. It's 2018,
Why am
and
I
I don't
defending Trump?
judge. Why what?
Oi.
Huh?
Oh, never mind. Why am I defending Trump?
I don't know. But here, let's listen to his interaction with
I need
Leslie
to leave
Stahl.
and come back in again so I can change.
He gets a little defensive over the questioning of his love interest, for lack of a better term. Here we go.
Tax cuts, regulation cuts, the biggest regulation cuts in history.
What about North Korea? We're talking about.
Well, I consider it so far a great achievement. Look, when
you say so far,
it's always so far till everything's done. Deals are deals, okay? Whether it's a real estate deal or a retail deal, it doesn't matter. But I will say this. The day before I came in, we were going to war with North Korea. I sat with President Obama.
We were going to war?
We were going to. I think it was going to end up in war. And my impression is, and even in my first few months, I mean, that rhetoric was as tough as it could possibly get. Doesn't get any tougher than that. Nobody's ever heard rhetoric that tough. We were going to war with North Korea. Now, you don't hear that. You don't hear any talk of it. And he doesn't want to go to war. And we don't want to go to war. And he understands denuclearization, and he's agreed to it. And you see that. He's agreed to it.
Do you
No
trust
missiles.
him?
I do trust him, yeah. I trust him. That doesn't mean I can't be proven wrong.
Why
on
would
that.
you trust him?
Well, first of all, if I didn't trust him, I wouldn't say that to you. Wouldn't I be foolish to tell you right here on 60 Minutes?
Well,
wonderful
remember
show?
what Reagan said. Trust but verify.
Sure, I know. It's very true. But the fact is, I do trust him. But we'll see what happens.
But is it true that they haven't gotten rid of a single weapon and they may actually be building more missiles?
They want to, and I will tell you that they're closing up sites.
But
We're
is what
setting
I
it up.
said true, that they haven't?
Well, nobody really knows. I mean, people are saying that.
Yeah.
I've actually said that, and nobody
What, that they're
really
still
knows.
building missiles, more missiles?
We don't really know, Leslie. We really don't know. But I assume, let's say the answer is yes.
Okay. Let's say.
In the meantime, they haven't tested a missile. They haven't tested a rocket. They definitely haven't done a nuclear test, because you know about them real fast. It sort of moves the earth. And we have a relationship now.
One of the things that Kim has asked for is for you to ease the sanctions.
We haven't done that.
Are you prepared to do that?
No.
What does he have to do
No,
before
I'm
you?
not doing it. This isn't the Obama administration. I haven't eased the sanctions. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything. We're meeting. I believe he likes me. I like him. We have a good relationship. It's very important. And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really.
Oh,
He
come
wrote me
on.
beautiful letters.
Part of the clip.
And they're great letters.
Everybody's
We
laughing.
fell in love.
He's had.
I want to
it's-
read you
Yeah, you took
his
that
resume.
seriously too.
Okay?
Really?
He presides
Really?
over
Really,
a
Matt?
cruel kingdom of repression.
Oh, give me a break.
Gulags, starvation, reports that he had his half-brother assassinated, slave labor, public executions. This is a guy you
I know all
love.
these things. I mean, I'm not a baby. I know all these
but
things.
why do you love that guy?
Look. I get along with him, okay?
But you
And I
said
say-
love him.
Okay, that's just
like
a
an
figure of
embrace.
speech.
No, it's like an embrace.
Well, let it be an embrace. Let it be whatever it is to
he's
get the
a
job
bad
done.
guy.
Look, let it be whatever it is. I get along with him really well. I have a good energy with
Would
him.
we
I have a
rather
good
not
chemistry
talk to
with
them?
him. Look at the horrible threats that were made. No more threats. No more threats.
All right, so there you have it. Well, he didn't really snap at her.
Come on.
I
Give me
think the
a break.
title's exaggerated
You
a
are
little bit.
reaching hard today. What is with you?
What do you mean?
That is a total reach.
What is a reach?
Saying that he's in love.
He is. He's deeply in
That
love.
was a
Clearly.
joke. Everybody's laughing.
If I were Melania, I'd be like, "What is going on here? This is
No,
terrible.
no.
What does Kim Jong Un have that
No.
I don't have? I wish I could
No.
I wish I could do an impression of her voice, but
No.
I'd be worried. Hey,
No, you'd have a hard time doing it since she can speak like 5 languages, but
well, no, she's very, very smart.
she's extremely fluent and very smart.
But you know, you hear. Oh, hello to Chuck Gosson, by the way, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. You hear these stories, though. You know, people find out when their father is like in their 70s that he's turns out he was gay. You know, who knows? I mean, I don't think that's the case with Trump. But,
No.
I mean, he certainly wouldn't wear his tie like that if he were. You know, he'd have more of a fashion sense, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been married to his 3 women.
He's
3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have another clip here. This is Trump discussing. What was this one about? Oh, the
I still think you
child
need
separation.
to take. Wait a minute. You need to take back your whole comment on Trump being in love.
I think
that's
it's
just not true.
I think it's beautiful. He
It's
said
not
he was in
true.
love. Kim Jong Un wrote him very nice letters.
You are so full of it.
I'm just saying.
You are stretching.
It's not me. It's him. He said it.
Is it a slow news day?
I think it's sweet.
We're gonna stretch this.
So this is Trump talking with Leslie Stahl about the child separation policy at the border.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Well, that's.
Is that the pleasant way of saying ripping a child out of a mother's arms and separating them to the point of being lost?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Unfortunately, it does say here that this exchange between he and Leslie Stahl also gets contentious, but we'll see. I'm just waiting for this ad to clear so I can play it. Oh, this Mediaite website. It's such a wonderful resource, but sometimes it's frustrating. Here we go.
So far. So you've been president for almost 2 years. Is there anything that you wish you hadn't said, anything you wish you hadn't done? Do you have any regrets?
So when I won the presidency, I thought, the press treats me terribly. I thought very strongly that, you know, the one great thing will happen is the press will start treating me great. Leslie, they treat me worse. They got worse instead of better. Very dishonest.
Okay, is this what you regret?
I regret that the press treats me so badly.
I'm really asking if
and
you,
despite that, my poll numbers are very good.
Have you made any mistakes? That's my question.
Everybody makes mistakes.
And what have been yours?
I could have been earlier with terminating the NAFTA deal. The problem was I was getting to know the leaders. I was getting to know countries. I didn't want to do it right out of the box. So I waited a little while, but I could have done trade a little bit earlier.
What about the forced separation of children from their migrant children from
well, that was the same as the Obama law. You know, Obama had the same thing.
It was on the books, but he didn't enforce it. You enforced it. You launched that the zero tolerance policy to deter families with children.
No, but then everybody decided, and the courts don't want separation. And frankly, when you don't do separate, when you allow the parents to stay together, okay? When you allow that, then what happens is people are going to pour into our country.
So are you going to go back to that?
Well, we're looking at a lot of things.
I
Really,
see.
what we want to do is change the immigration laws because they're a laughing stock all over the world.
Are you willing, though? I think you're saying it's under consideration.
No, I want all the laws changed.
The
There have to be
specifically.
consequences, Leslie, for coming into our country illegally.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I have to blame myself. The economy is so strong that everybody wants to come into the United States.
Can I just ask this simple
creative.
question, yes or no?
Go ahead.
Are you willing to reinstitute that policy? You said we're looking at everything. Yes
I will only,
or no?
you can't say yes or no. What I can say is this. There are consequences from coming into a country, namely our country, illegally.
I'm not going to ask it again. 'cause
You don't
I know
have to.
won't. Okay.
But it's the same as Obama.
Okay, changing subjects again.
Wait.
You are the first president.
No, wait a minute. If I go by that theory, then there are people who are here or that were brought here to the United States during World War II, disguised as Christian children, but they were secretly Jews. Jewish children smuggled out of countries. So in Trump world, we abused those children. And had he been president during World War II, he would have shipped them back to the camps or maybe built his own gas chamber. Is that what he's saying?
Boy,
I'm sorry,
I hope
but
not.
well, I'm sorry, but look at it for what it is. We're talking about separating adults from children.
Yeah.
No matter where you are on the issue of immigration, whether you want people to be able to come here or not come here, whatever, put that aside. We're taking children, babies, toddlers, separating them from their adult parents, losing them in the system. The government admits it lost children.
Oh, yeah.
There was an article. Do you remember the article that we looked at that had that woman from Mexico whose child was not only removed from her, but adopted out to an American family?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stories.
If those are the kind of
this.
things that are happening now, it is not a far stretch to say that had he had been president during World War II and Jewish children were being smuggled into the country under the guise of being Christian or atheist or whatever, that his stance would have been to collect them and ship them back or put them into cages.
Right.
Okay? So if you find that offensive, then you should find it equally offensive that children have been put into cages, separated from their parents, and in some cases lost or even adopted out, forever separated from their families because of what adults did.
Yeah.
You are destroying children and abusing children because of what adults chose to do with them or to them.
Well, the good news is polling data has shown when this first became a big story that even a lot of Republicans, and obviously Republicans tend to be much harder on immigration.
Well, Republicans also tend to be very family-oriented, very
Right.
old-school family, nuclear family. So when you tell them that children are being ripped out of mom's arms There are many Republicans out there that are going to find that offensive.
Yeah, the majority of Republicans polled didn't agree with this policy either, which is encouraging. So that's
This
a good
is
thing.
not how we discourage illegal immigration, people coming across the border illegally. You don't discourage that by abusing children. And there is nothing about what's being done by separating a child from their parent and sticking them in a cage that isn't abuse. That is just sheer abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anybody did that with their child, they would be removed by social services. The parents would be arrested. They would be in federal prison. That is what we would do as American citizens to protect an American child. So why in the world would we allow any child to be treated that way?
Right. There's a little bit more to this.
To the United States, who never had a political post before, never served in the military. You come up here, you've been here for almost 2 years. What's the biggest surprise? And what have you learned since you've been president?
Okay, so I always used to say the toughest people are Manhattan real estate guys and blah, blah. Now I say they're babies.
Who's
They're
the
babies.
toughest?
The political people. This is the most deceptive, vicious world. It is vicious. It's full of lies, deceit, and deception.
Yep.
You make a deal with somebody, and it's like making a deal with that table.
Give me an example.
Well, I don't want to give you an example. I'm not looking at. In the meantime, nobody's been able to do what I've been able to do. Remember that. When you look at taxes, you look at regulations, you look at making deals with other countries, nobody's been able to do anything like this. Actually, most people didn't even try because they knew they didn't have the ability to do it. But it's a very deceptive world. The other thing I've really learned is I never knew how dishonest the media was. I really mean it. I'm not saying that as a soundbite. I never knew how dishonest.
I'm going to change the subject again.
Well, no, but even the way you asked me a question, like about separation.
Yeah.
When I say Obama did it, you don't want to talk about it.
No,
when I say I did it, let's make a big
I'm going to
deal out of it.
run your answer, but you did it 4 times.
I'm
so.
just telling you that you treated me much differently on the subject.
I disagree, but I don't want to have that fight with you.
Hey,
All
it's
right, we'll
okay.
have another fight with you.
Leslie, it's okay. In the meantime, I'm president and you're not.
Ooh. I don't think Leslie Stahl, I don't think there was anything out of line with any of her questions.
I gotta say, he is correct in a lot of what he says. I mean, I think if you ask anybody who's served in the legislature at the state level or federal level, they're going to be lying to you if they don't admit that there's absolute corruption that goes on out there.
Oh, that's absolutely.
There's
no, I think
pushing
that's
on
true.
I can remember being pushed to vote certain ways, and you know, I was a stubborn person, so if my constituent, I represented my constituency, not your special interest. So that's not what I was elected for. And boy, I really aggravated a lawyer once when I made that comment to them.
Yeah.
But that really does, he's right when he talks about how nasty it is behind the scenes. And he's right when he talks about how the media portrays things in politics. And I will go back to the same example I have used numerous times. When the state of New Hampshire was discussing a bill, there was a organization owned, operated, and run by the Catholic Church that did not want to have to pay for birth control of any kind. The bill in the media was portrayed as a Republican war on women, that the bill was only was attacking women's rights and women's ability to get birth control pills or access to things like that. And I challenged a member of WMUR to say what the bill really had in it, which included vasectomies. Now, you tell me how you call something a war on women when it has vasectomies in it. But they didn't want to talk about that because that's not a good soundbite. They can't make you mad and tell you that the Republicans have a war on women if they tell you the bill includes vasectomies and destroy their whole argument. So I have to say that I have borne witness to media deception, and I believe that we all have to do our due diligence on all sides of an issue to really know what's in front of us and not just take it at surface value from what the media feeds us.
And I think there's far more women, though, concerned about getting access to birth control than there are men concerned about getting access to vasectomies.
You don't think there's
oh, absolutely.
men out there that are concerned about getting someone impregnated?
Yes, I said I think there's far more women who are concerned about getting access to birth control.
Regardless of whether there's more or less.
I think far
more. The bottom
more.
line is that's what was in the bill.
Yeah.
But you leave half that information out and suddenly it's a war on women by the Republican Party.
Well, I was never a
Instead of
fan
actually being a bill about the Catholic Church going, gee, you know, in our belief, in our religion, it's an absolute, like, sin to have a vasectomy or to be on the pill for no other reasons than birth control. Not like you had a disease or something like that.
Says who?
According to the bill. Believe me, I read it quite thoroughly because I have endometriosis and I had polycystic ovaries when I was a kid. So I was really concerned about this bill when I first heard about it, that it would hurt people who have those issues and utilize, so sometimes birth control pills and other ways, shots and things like that are used to treat women who do suffer from things like endometriosis or polycystic ovaries. There's a lot of different things that unfortunately can go wrong. And those things are needed. And the bill did not allow the church to be able to not cover those items if it was related to a disease or ailment. So it was a bogus line, and it's proof that, to me, it's proof positive that the media will absolutely change a story up to make it soundbite.
Fred made the comment in the Facebook live chat. He fits right in.
On what? He wants a vasectomy?
Oh, I don't think Trump at his age. Well, yeah, you never know, I guess.
Men can get a woman pregnant well into their late. You don't stop making swimmies. They just don't swim as fast.
Yes.
Men can get women pregnant through quite into their late ages.
Oh my goodness. This other.
That's why men should have vasectomies instead of counting on women to do different things.
Right.
I mean,
right.
really. I mean, you guys can get people pregnant forever. Women have
apparently.
a time limit.
That's right. The biological clock.
The biological clock goes off and you're done.
So Nikki Haley, of course, there's this theory that's been floated that, since she seemingly rather abruptly and before the midterms, which is surprising, she's leaving as UN ambassador. There's this theory that's been floated that she was behind the anonymous New York Times op-ed. Now, I have said that no, it can't possibly be her for a couple of reasons. Number one is whoever it was claimed to have been working directly inside the White House to undermine Trump. Nikki Haley works out of New York because that's where the UN is, obviously. But also, too, she then published her own op-ed saying that when she has a disagreement with the president, she confronts him directly and doesn't need to do anything behind his back or to try to undermine him. Now, I just saw on Mediaite Kennedy from Fox News, who, of course, I remember Kennedy from back in the day when she was an MTV VJ.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow,
you're right.
Yeah, but she's on Fox Business and has been for quite a few years. And she's a longtime libertarian. But she was talking about this theory, and it looks like Judge Napolitano is in this clip. I
love that man.
I know you do, yeah. Well, he does go on Fox and Friends.
I wish he would run. If he ran, boy, I think he'd get a lot of support.
He does go on Fox.
He's very constitutional. Well, he'll disagree with the Fox guys, though. He'll argue with them.
Well, I
like that.
What I was going to say. He goes on Fox and Friends and says things that they don't want to hear, and it's fun watching them squirm sometimes. But I want to play this clip. I didn't pre-listen to this, but I'm really curious. Apparently, Kennedy, I want to hear her argument for why she thinks it is Nikki Haley, and we'll see what she has to say. Maybe she can convince me.
You weren't right on the president.
What's that?
You weren't right on the president, so I don't know.
Yeah.
President ever does. I mean, you always have people that are in there. I mean, Washington is a tough town. It seems like it's even tougher than New York. And, that I think every president that's in there is going to have somebody they feel suspicious of at one time or another who's in there for themselves as opposed to being in there for the president.
I was disappointed to hear him say he has to be guarded. He should not have to be guarded. There must be a group around him in front of whom he can be 100% himself.
It's probably a really small group.
Me?
One of the people that he has known for more than a decade, Omarosa, walked up and was recording everything. How can you trust anybody?
That's outrageous, and it's
It is outrageous.
One of the most trustworthy people in his circle. Look,
and by the way, Barack Obama as president, Adrienne, you remembered, was notorious for going after leakers inside the White House. He knew he couldn't trust people either.
Look, all you have to do is read Bob Woodward's book to realize, if you're President Trump, why you don't trust a lot of people who work in the White House around you. He had people who were going to Bob Woodward and telling, scoopy, gossipy stories to him. I can understand why he would feel this way.
Forget about that. We had an employee who went into the situation room
but
with
not
the
in the
recording.
first year and a half. That isn't all. These books oftentimes, they don't come out in the first year and a half to 2 years. Again, if I were him, I would.
Had plenty of people they could.
You got the op-ed that
every
appeared in the New York Times.
I gotta get this. Whatever happened to the search for the author of the anonymous New York Times op-ed?
Yes.
Did they find the person and discover it's really one of their friends and they don't want to out the person? How could they?
More than one person.
Did that person just resign as
and we don't
U.S.
know.
ambassador to the UN?
What?
I'm just asking a question.
As a hypothetical.
As a hypothetical. I don't know. I'm just wondering how
Kennedy
these
and I
things
sometimes
work.
collaborate on these hypotheticals.
Well, we don't collude, because that would be wrong. But let me ask you this. How do you inspire that kind of loyalty, though, that every president would love to have? And we cannot pretend that this element in a very unorthodox White House, this element is not unique to this presidency. The fact that there are...
Right, there's more to this clip, but I get the feeling that she doesn't really make her argument. She just says, oh, maybe it's Nikki Haley. So that was disappointing.
Do you really think that any president has been able to trust to be 100% yourself? Oh, come on. Give me a break. Do you really think the Clinton administration had that going on with the blue dress and, the affairs going on in the Oval Office? You really think there wasn't gossip going on?
Gossip?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Leakage.
By the way, Judge Napolitano, he does this sometimes when he laughs. I've noticed he does this on Fox and Friends too. He cackles. It's unsettling. I think he might be insane.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Says who?
I don't know. I just I worry because he cackles at things that
I
aren't.
don't agree with you.
Like he'll start cackling at something that wasn't that funny. I've noticed he does it. He did it there. He does it on Fox and Friends too. Like whenever he laughs, it's just odd. He automatically goes right to 10. Like he doesn't.
Would you vote for him?
Like he just. I'd need to know a lot more about him before I would say that.
Yeah,
but
I gotta say most of the people I know that are libertarian love him.
But I do know, I do respect him for, like I said, he goes on Fox and Friends and he's sitting there with Steve Ducey and Brian Kilmeade and the token blonde who sits in the middle.
Stop it.
And he says
you
things.
Gotta stop calling her that. You
That's
chauvinist.
The Fox. No.
You chauvinist.
That's the Fox and Friends formula.
Give
it
me
has
a break.
been from the very beginning.
You are chauvinist.
Right from the beginning. For the past 2 decades, it's been Steve Ducey, Brian Kilmeade. I don't know if I'm saying their names correctly.
Probably
and
not.
And they always have the blonde in the middle. That's the Fox and Friends formula.
You sound so rude. You sound absolutely rude.
At one time, I think it was Megyn Kelly. I think Megyn Kelly might have been the first one.
You gonna mansplain this to me?
I have a particular bitterness about it, and I'll tell you why. Because the year was 2004.
Here we go, back in time.
And I was still a Democrat then. I had not yet become an independent, but I was very hopeful that John Kerry would unseat George W. Bush as president.
God.
And what I recall is I remember falling asleep on the couch on election night, feeling dejected because it looked like they didn't call it.
Internet.
They didn't call it until the morning. No, you're thinking of Al Gore.
Yeah, I know they both are just
John
nuts.
Kerry. I don't think so, but
I lived in Massachusetts.
So I just remember falling asleep, feeling discouraged and dejected because they weren't calling it yet, but it looked like how it was going to go. It all came down to Cuyahoga County in Ohio, and I remember falling asleep. I dozed off on the couch, and then I remember waking up, and I don't remember who it was at the time, who the female in the middle was. It might have been Megyn Kelly at that point. But I remember waking up and the first thing I hear, because what I would do is I would flip around like MSNBC, Fox, see who was calling which states for who, and so apparently I fell asleep with it on Fox, and I wake up, and the first thing I hear is whoever, I think it might have been Megyn Kelly, but the first thing I hear is this shrill voice going, I told you guys Bush was going to win. I told you the exit polls were wrong. I told you. And I was like, oh, and so I'm just bitter. Ever since then, whoever the blonde is, I'm just bitter toward them, and I project onto them my frustration with that moment waking up to that.
Are you going to do that with CNN and S.E. Cupp? Is she the token? Is S.E. Cupp a token?
Well, number one, she's not blonde. Number two, she's not on Fox and Friends.
Oh, what, you have to be
number
a blonde
three, she's
to be
on
a token.
CNN.
So my mom, my stepmom is a token because she's a blonde?
No, what I'm
saying
saying
is
it's
my
always a blonde.
college-educated, cum laude, amazing artist of a mom is blonde, so she's a token.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
I'm
Blondes
saying
are
according
tokens.
to the Fox and Friends formula.
No.
There has never been a brunette
When I just
who sits
asked
in the middle.
you about S.E. Cupp, you said no because she's not a blonde.
Right, so she would never be
Specifically.
on Fox and Friends. She'd have to dye her hair.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm not making fun of blondes.
Give me a break.
Although I know
You're
some-
saying that it has
I
to
know
be a
some,
blonde.
I know some great blonde jokes, but I'm not making fun of blondes.
You're being terrible.
No. I'm saying that's the Fox and
Stop
Friends formula.
mansplaining.
Fox and
Stop
Friends.
mansplaining.
Roger Ailes. In fact,
God,
you know what?
I need another woman in here to talk common sense because you're just out to lunch.
I would be willing to bet money that somewhere in that building or in someone's email,
What, there's an extra blonde?
Roger Ailes, at some point before he died,
they got pocket blondes,
wrote an email or a memo saying
Must always have blonde.
Yes. Yes, on Fox and Friends, because that's the formula.
You are so full of it. You are now. You won't say you don't have anything to say about what women CNN have or CNBC. You know, they don't have token women.
They don't have a specific formula. I'm saying Fox and Friends has a specific formula.
So you say. So Fox
Have
is
you
the
ever seen a
only
brunette
one that
on that
has
show?
a formula. Yes, I have.
No, actually, I think all the Fox shows have.
Have you ever
have a
have you ever
formula.
watched what is her name? Jeannie Perot,
Judge Jeanine?
Judge Jeanine. I don't believe she's a blonde. Last time I checked.
No, I'm saying that's the Fox and Friends
just go,
formula.
Go figure.
I'm saying that's the Fox and Friends formula
Sure.
specifically.
Okay.
That's what the
And
70-year-old.
CNN just has a woman, and it's not a token.
The 70-year-old conservative white men, because
Give me
that's
a
their
break.
demographic, who turn on Fox and Friends in the morning to get all worked up and excited.
Oh, so you're telling me the only people
that's
who
what they
watch
wanna see.
Fox are old men who want to get basically excited watching
No,
television.
I'm just saying that's their key demographic.
That's what you said.
That is their key
That
demographic.
is what you just said.
Yeah.
That is what you just said.
No,
Admit it.
I have nothing against a 70-year-old
See,
man who needs to
you're
look at, because let's be
you're
honest,
awful.
Steve Ducey and Brian Kilmeade, not necessarily the
Kill
most
me,
attractive
and
men.
I seriously doubt you're saying these people's names right.
No, I read somewhere that the D in his name is silent, and it's actually Kill Me.
Okie dokie.
And Steve,
So we have Kill Me, a douche, and a blonde.
yes, that's a
Walk
Fox and
into
Friends
a bar
formula.
and create a Fox and News broadcast. Is
They
that
walk
what it is?
walk into a bar, create a Fox and Friends broadcast, and
You are out to lunch.
gush about their love of
but
Donald
CNN,
John Trump.
no, they don't have a formula. So they must be not very smart then, I guess, because Fox has got a formula and CNN doesn't.
I'm sure all these shows have formulas.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Ha! You just contradicted yourself.
No,
Yes, you did.
I'm just talking about the Fox and Friends
No,
formula
you did.
specifically.
You totally contradicted yourself.
They have a
Yes, you
formula,
did.
and God bless them.
I said, what, CNN
I hope
doesn't
they're-
have a formula involving a woman. And you said, no, they don't. It's Fox. It's just Fox.
No, I'm sure all those shows have
You
formulas of some
contradicted
kind.
yourself.
I didn't say it was only
Yeah, you
Fox.
did.
I just said that's all what I was
I
referring
said,
to.
so CNN and CNBC don't have formulas? And you said, no,
But
it's
Fox
a
and
Fox
Friends,
formula.
Fox and Friends is probably the most blatant in that it's always
You are
always
blatant.
the same.
You are
in terms
blatant
of what
with your
you see.
mansplaining of blondes.
In terms of what you see when you
See?
you turn on the
See?
television.
God got you. You're getting choked up over there. You can't even talk because you're mansplaining yourself into a pit.
Someday there will be no blondes, no natural blondes. Did you know that? Because it's a recessive trait, and there will be no redheads either.
That's not. You don't know.
No,
Recessive
that's
genes show up all the time.
right. But they're recessive, which means eventually they will go away.
That doesn't mean they
won't be any-
eventually go away necessarily.
And most-
they can
and-
come back.
And statistically, most blondes are not natural blondes.
My mom is.
Yeah, well,
Very much so.
she's rare.
Well, you've met her.
I read an article
You've
once.
seen her hair. You've met her.
I read an article
She's a beautiful,
once where
natural,
I was
smart blonde.
I was very
Not
surprised.
a token.
I was very surprised at the percentage I saw in the article and this was years ago. I was actually surprised at like how few natural blondes there are. Well, you know who is, I believe, a natural blonde? Hillary Rodham Clinton, who I believe
Why? How do you
will
know?
be the 2020 nominee for.
How do you know?
I don't know. Actually, no, you know what? Now that I think about it,
What color are her eyebrows?
you know why I thought that? No, I just realized she's not a natural
There
blonde.
you go.
Because, like,
Nothing underneath her head matches.
she's been a blonde for decades, but now that I think about it, there are pictures of her from college where she had dark hair.
Correct.
But much like our president, she has dyed her hair for many
A lot of
decades.
people dye their hair. So what?
So
what?
I think it's great. I used to lighten my hair. I've been blonde.
Really?
Well, yeah, because
You were blonde?
yeah,
like in the
at one
80s? Did you have a mullet blonde?
not in the 80s. No.
Were you a mullet
Like in
blonde?
the 90s.
90s?
Well, I found that the lighter I made my hair, the less people seem to expect of me. So it's kind of an advantage, like at work and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Um,
That's a new one on me because that never worked for me.
Oh,
I
well.
lightened my hair and it didn't change my job perspective. But I was in EMS, so
Right.
it kind of doesn't change.
You kind of had to do a good job.
Well, you'd hope I would.
Yes.
If you were on the receiving end.
But this kind of relates to your reference earlier to the Clinton White House. The View tears into Hillary Clinton's defense of Bill, saying she changed the subjects just like just like Republicans did. So I'm curious to hear what
Oh God, are you going to play the View? Ew.
what they had
ew,
to say.
Ew.
It's not like I'm going to play the whole show.
Oh,
I'm just going to play a clip, but this is
it's going to burn my ears.
this is them tearing down their hero, Hillary Clinton. Listen to this.
The Osmonds, they're going on a speaking tour together. Hillary sat down with CBS Sunday morning and was asked if the Me Too era has changed her feelings about her husband's affair with Monica Lewinsky. Watch.
Do you think Bill should have resigned in the wake of the Monica Lewinsky scandal?
Absolutely not.
It wasn't an abuse of power?
No. No.
There are people who look at the incidents of the 90s and they say a president of the United States cannot have a consensual relationship with an intern. The power imbalance is too
Who was
great.
an adult. But let me ask you this. Where's the investigation of the current incumbent against whom numerous allegations have been made?
Now, see, people are applauding, but the problem with what she's saying is,
She totally deferred the question. Yeah.
well, she's engaging in whataboutism. And whataboutism, I mean, it's a relatively new term that people have come up with which is, when you argue something to defend your position, you just say, well, what about this? What about what the other side did? So
switch
she's
it
like,
back.
well, you're talking about Bill Clinton. Well, what about Donald Trump? And to me, whataboutism, I mean, I personally think it's just the least sophisticated way to argue about anything. It's like, I mean, I hate to use that old cliche, two wrongs don't make a right, but they don't. And both Republicans and Democrats engage in it consistently. It's one of the reasons I'm an independent, where
Absolutely.
people just are, try to justify what someone on their own side does or what they do themselves by saying, well, what about blah, 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 and what he did.
If you think about it, John F. Kennedy was probably the last president to have people in his inner circle that he could 100% trust. I mean, the Attorney General was his own brother.
Right.
Right? So if any administration could be looked at as an example of where you saw more trust, it would probably be the Kennedy administration. However, we are all aware of his affairs. We are all aware that those things occurred. We know that there had to be a lot of gossip going on in the White House about his affairs, about the things that he was doing that were not so presidential.
That's why Rafael Cruz helped have him assassinated.
Oy vey. I honestly, I mean, I
Sorry,
think our country would have been better if we'd gotten to have Kennedy a lot longer. But
Every once in a while, the spirit of Trump possesses me. And I don't know how that even happens because he's alive. It's very strange.
I think it happens. I think it's being directed from the antennae above you.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess something.
Hello to Ed Murphy, who joins us in the Facebook live chat, as well as Heidi Hamer.
Hey, Heidi, where's my sign? I
Oh.
never got one. You want me to vote for you?
Oh, my
Tomorrow,
goodness.
yes. Heidi Hamer. I'm voting for Heidi Hamer tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow? No, not tomorrow.
No,
Next
it's
month.
still October. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh, so you still have some time. See, I lost track of time. I thought
Yes.
maybe the election was here.
There's a lot of
Where's
time
my
distortion
sign,
in
Heidi?
the time distortion in the Trump era.
I want my sign, Heidi.
Let's hear how the cast of The View reacts to
God, here we go.
I actually like Joy Behar. I always have. I don't see Whoopi here, but we'll hear how the others react.
I have to say, they love Hillary here. But I have to say that what she just did is exactly what the Republicans do.
Right.
They change the subject. So that's why we never get anywhere in the discourse.
So, you know you have a bad argument when your immediate response is, well, they were worse.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yep.
acknowledge it. This highlighted
But
to
what
me.
aboutism they call it.
Yeah. This highlighted to me, I think, why some people struggle to vote for her was because you can't have it both ways in her position, which is exactly what you want. You can't put yourself on a pedestal and be a leader for the feminist movement and at the same time refuse to acknowledge the reality that you've lived with for all these years and to stand by your husband.
Yep.
I don't judge other people's marriages, but call it for what it is and call it out for being wrong and for being bad for all those years. I just don't think she can have it both ways, and she continues to try and do
Which is the part that bothers you, that she stayed with him?
That doesn't bother me.
Oh.
That doesn't bother me. It bothers me that she tries to be this speaker and embody this person that is empowering women.
Yeah.
When you all these years you had women that came out and were telling their story about the way they were
To me,
treated
she's
with
just
Clinton.
a victim of his stupidity also. That she's not, she
a
didn't do
victim.
anything, he did.
But Renita Frederick claims that Hillary tried to intimidate her into silence. Kathleen Wiley claims the Clintons tried to intimidate her into not telling the truth. She called Monica Lewinsky a narcissistic Looney Tune. Jennifer Flowers, some failed cabaret singer.
That's what I
there's
mean.
a
You
whole
can't-
list of things that she was also involved in the cover-up or the bimbo eruptions if you read George Stephanopoulos' book. And I just think with Hillary in particular, first of all, she's the gift that keeps on giving to Republicans. Democrats have got to move on from the Clintons. She did a leadership forum gala with Kristen Gillibrand and Kamala Harris last May, which is not that long ago. These are two up-and-coming women in the Democratic Party, possible
She still has
presidential
fans.
nominees.
Hillary still has fans.
But
and so
I
does
think
Bill.
if you're Kristen Gillibrand and you're the face of, going against, Me Too. I'm sorry, being a proponent of the Me Too movement and going against sexual harassment, you can't be connected to the Clintons.
But I don't know. I mean, she's his wife. What?
Yeah, and it kind of goes on from there.
You
but
really see
that
her
was
as a victim?
That was Meghan McCain that was talking, and then before that was Abby Huntsman.
You see,
and then
you
and that
see
was
Hillary that way?
That was Joy Behar at the beginning. No,
I don't, but I have a serious problem, a very serious problem with Hillary Clinton sitting there and literally saying that it was not an abuse of power.
Right.
That it was,
yeah.
she was an adult. Give me a break. She's an intern. He's the president of the United States. You don't say no to the president of the United States for most interns. You do whatever you're going to do. And that's an intimidating thing. You don't know what happened behind those doors. You don't know what Bill Clinton said to Monica we don't know. But it absolutely is an abuse of power. Absolutely. And it is in the flies in the face. Do you know this is October? It's not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's also Domestic Violence and Abuse Awareness Month. That's why you're seeing people walking around with their ring finger painted purple for the Put a Nail in It campaign. That's why you're seeing more people talk about the Me Too movement. That's why RAINN is putting out more information about 1 in 7 men are victims of rape. 1 in, I believe it's 4 or 5 women are victims of rape. That's why we're talking about these things right now during this month. To have the former First Lady sit there and say that the President of the United States did not use an abuse of power when he had relations with an intern. An intern.
Right.
Is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And to defend that is disgusting.
So I've never seen her as a victim. I think, and a lot of her critics will say this. This isn't anything original that I'm saying, but I've always kind of operated under the assumption that she stuck around and played her part because of her own ambition. That
Absolutely, I agree.
And there's nothing wrong with being ambitious. Some people get.
She's overly ambitious, I think.
I don't.
How many times is she gonna run?
I don't begrudge her that. I mean, you kind of have to be that if you want to be leader of the free world. But
I think you have to give up after a while and stop running.
Well, she's only run twice.
I think that's enough.
Oh, it probably.
That's enough.
It probably is. Although
we don't want you. Goodbye.
I won't be shocked either way.
I don't think Kerry should run. I don't think Romney should run. I want to see some better names.
Romney's not going to run again.
God, I hope not.
He's going to be the next senator from Utah.
God, I hope not.
But
let him stay. Let Utah keep him. Massachusetts had their fill.
But
the New England had their fill.
But I think she probably, the idea was stick around because eventually she's going to get to be president. And
well, she did get to do a lot of things, though.
Yeah,
she's
a
very accomplished woman.
Secretary...
Let's not begrudge her what she has done.
No, she was Secretary of State. She was senator from New York. I mean, she's had quite the career.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I always figured that she was sticking around for kind of utilitarian reasons, and I don't
and really
begrudge
doesn't
her that.
care about women's issues, because I'll tell you what, if I was married to a guy that did that, and that's what happened, I would have divorced him.
Right.
I think most women
would
say they would have divorced him.
Right.
She stayed married to him. What does that tell me? She's basically justifying his behaviors. And then to sit there and answer that question point blank, that it was not an abuse of power, is absolutely infuriating and disgusting. I'm disgusted that a woman would say that.
Yeah.
I mean, she should lose her woman card. There should be like a no card for her. I mean, just really, that's disgusting.
Yeah, there's a woman card?
I don't know. I just don't. I mean, how can she sit there and say that it wasn't an abuse of power for her husband to do what he did? And if you want to talk about the current president, who's got 3 ex-wives.
2.
Or 2 ex-wives, 1 current wife. Nobody's out there going, oh, he had this, oh, you had that. I mean, everybody knows what he is. He was right up out there, and I mean, nobody stands on airs about Trump. They know he's into his 3rd marriage. They know he has children from more than 1 marriage. They know he had quite the life with women, and people still elected him knowing all of that. So they actually knew that going in. Versus Clinton, we didn't find out until after he was in office and abusing his office.
Oh, I disagree with that.
I don't.
There were quite a few allegations. Remember when he
not like Trump.
When he won the New Hampshire primary, I mean, this was right after the Jennifer Flowers scandal had broken. And he was able to overcome that, and that's why he called himself the comeback kid, even though he actually came in second. He didn't even win the New Hampshire primary. He came in second behind Paul Tsongas.
It wasn't as severe.
But Tsongas had, because he was from Massachusetts, he had favorite son status, so Clinton wasn't even expected. So it was an empirical victory or a Pyrrhic victory, I should say, rather, for Clinton.
Clinton was not
when he came in second.
Everything.
But he was accused of a lot of dirty stuff.
Everything came up for Trump. Everything he ever recorded, everything he did when he did the pageants, when he was his current wife was involved with I think Playboy. I mean, they've pulled everything out.
Clinton was accused of a lot, though. Remember, I interviewed Dolly Kyle, who wrote that book. What was it called? The Other Woman. She had talked about her time with Bill Clinton. And there was Kathleen Willey. I mean, I think most of that came out, I think, before he was elected.
We should probably just avoid the president's bedroom. I mean, given our country's history and our presidents, I think we should just avoid the president's bedroom.
Well, but the Me Too movement's really kind of changed the way people think about. I mean, people are thinking about all this stuff a lot more now. Which I think is healthy, actually.
Well, no, I'm not saying like an abuse of power where you've got a situation going on like that. That situation should have been investigated far more thoroughly. And in today's day and age, I don't believe that Clinton would have got off as easy as he did then. I think that people would have been more incensed because people are more.
I hope people don't have more incest.
Incest. Oy vey. You're killing me.
This is the Northeast.
We're getting lots of sirens
I know.
now.
I mean, I know you lived in Kentucky at one point, but
oh God, do you have to bring that up?
We don't need more.
You're gonna make my stomach turn.
We don't need more incest. I mean,
no, they can keep that down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But I mean, seriously.
Well, Clinton did pay. I mean, Clinton was punished for what he did.
I think it would have been a lot
for
worse
the perjury.
If it was today.
It was pretty bad. Actually, it was pretty. I'm not that I have any sympathy for him over it, but it was.
You don't think there would have been a greater push for him to step down today?
He was impeached and disbarred.
So what?
Which is pretty severe, actually, disbarment for life.
But he was still president of the United States.
Right, he wasn't removed, but he was impeached. But it actually, people had a lot of sympathy for him, and his poll numbers went up. I mean, he was pretty popular by the end of his
He
career.
wasn't having bizarre sexual things in the Oval Office.
Well, no, Nixon was running a criminal conspiracy out of the Oval Office,
How
which
do we
is
know what Clinton
pretty
was
bad.
doing? Because,
well,
if you believe
the
can have
If
that
you
kind
believe
of thing
the,
going on in the Oval Office and people don't see it.
If you believe the conspiracy theorists, Clinton and Hillary have murdered like
That's right. They have a hit list.
a couple hundred people or something,
right.
and they were
Right.
cocaine smugglers or something, and some wild
Wasn't it something like that? Yeah.
theories about like back in Arkansas, they were like these big drug kingpins or something.
They all
which
have kill lists, though. Wasn't it
which
the
I
Bush
don't
family
believe.
responsible for the Kennedy assassination?
No, that was Rafael Cruz.
No, I
Yeah.
thought the Bushes were involved with that one too.
No, Trump saw a picture of Rafael Cruz with Oswald.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's right.
There is a conspiracy theory about, which actually is interesting. We're almost out of time, but just quickly, there is an interesting conspiracy theory about the assassination attempt on Reagan, because from what I've read, John Hinckley Jr., allegedly his parents had dinner the night before the assassination attempt on Reagan with George and Barbara Bush. And from what I understand, this fact was reported in the media as fact very briefly. And then it was never mentioned again. And so draw from that whatever conclusion you will, but that is a theory that's out there, because obviously who had the most to gain from, had that assassination attempt been successful.
There's another theory that the assassination attempt was intended to fail to push gun regulations.
I haven't heard that theory, but the other theory that I've
Because it was just after that the Brady Bill passed.
Oh, okay.
The Brady Bill was a direct result of Reagan's attempted assassination.
Well, the other theory that I've heard, too, and read about is because Paul Volcker was the Fed chairman at that time, and he was yes, I remember now. Reagan had been very critical of the Fed and of Paul Volcker's monetary policy, and then after the assassination attempt, Reagan had nothing but nice things to say about Paul Volcker and his monetary policy. Now, that's another theory that I've read about.
And
it's probably BS. But
there was a time period during Reagan's house that Dr. Ron Paul was one of his confidants.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, what was that other gentleman's name that ran Libertarian for president?
Gary Johnson?
No. Back in Reagan's day, Gold something.
Only Gold I can think of is Goldwater, but he was a Republican.
Goldwater? Yeah.
But Barry Goldwater wasn't a Libertarian. He was a Republican.
No. He's the one I'm trying to think of. Though his son is more Libertarian-esque. But he was also involved in the Reagan White House. He was also negative about the monetary policies and so forth, just like Dr. Ron Paul was. And then, his second term, they weren't around. First term they were. Second term, not so much.
Yeah.
And you have, so maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do.
Or Hinckley was just trying to impress Jodie Foster, which is what he claimed. I don't think Jodie Foster was very impressed.
I doubt it. I somehow don't think she'd be impressed by murder. But
Hinckley's still alive, right? Is he still alive?
I thought he got out of jail.
Sitting in prison. Did he get? I remember there was talk of him getting clemency, but I don't think he ever actually got out.
No. I think he timed out.
Really?
Yeah, I thought he good timed out or something.
Well, that makes me worried.
We'll have to Google it now.
For all I know, he could be lurking around here. Like he could be in that building.
I don't think he'll get anywhere near Trump.
He could be. Well, he could be. No, I mean he could be lurking around here. He could be in that building across the street there.
Well, then I suggest you defend yourself, sir.
I mean, I did notice a red laser dot on me earlier.
You are a supporter of the Second Amendment, so I suggest you defend yourself.
I'm gonna have to start wearing a vest or something.
Among other things.
Although that is how I would like to die. I would like to be shot in the back.
Really?
Yeah, because that way I won't see it coming.
Oh, God.
I don't want to know it's going to happen.
I don't want to be shot in the back. That's a slow death. If someone's going to shoot me right in the back of the head, right in the back of the brain there, boom, done. I don't want the back. That's a slow death, man.
Jesse James once shot a man in the back just for snoring. I learned that from Time Life books. Most people won't even remember Time Life books.
And with that, we know that Matt Connarton has come completely unleashed.
Yes. So we are out of time. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you to everybody in the Facebook live chat. Elizabeth Robb came in but didn't say anything. She just
hugged
kind of
me.
She just kind of came, yep, and she waved.
She
and
came
then
in to hug me.
And then they're recording candidate speeches today upstairs on the 4th floor.
Yeah, I ran into
assume
one
that's
on the way in. There
why
was
she
a
here.
politician in the elevator.
Oh, all right, yes. They're like cockroaches. They're everywhere.
Oh, I don't think he'd agree with that, but okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But we are out of time. Of course, if you missed any part of today's show, it'll be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. I'll be back tomorrow. Of course, Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon, live weekdays 4 to 6 right here on WMNH.
Cappuccino from the Republic.
Oh, my goodness. And that's it for now. I'll talk at you all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.